Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale, and today we're going to talk about something that is a very important topic in the game, and that is 5 cards that desperately need a buff and 5 cards that desperately need a nerf inside the game. So essentially, these are going to be my top 5 cards and my worst 5 cards in the game. Now, a quick caveat, I'm sure every one of you guys are going to have cards on these lists that you say, wait, Ash, where the heck is this card, man? This is one of the strongest cards in the game. Nerf this card. Or Ash, what about this card? This card deserves a buff. But the thing is, I'm trying to keep in mind every arena range, because some cards like the Bomber, for example, can be really strong in lower level arenas and not as much used in higher level arenas or tournament play because there's better options. But I still think that because a card is used more early in the game, it doesn't necessarily mean that it justifies a buff to the card. So that little exception caveat out of the way, let's move to our list, guys. So the first card that I think needs a buff inside the game is going to be Sparky. Sparky, oh poor Sparky. I think it's a female. I think that poor Sparky has suffered dramatically from the evolving meta inside the game. There's so much zap, there's so much lightning around, there's ice spirits, there's logs. I mean, there's so many things that can set back and retarget the poor Sparky, and when she was initially introduced to the game, some of those didn't even exist, and now Electro Whiz being one of them that can just immediately reset Sparky. Even when you drop the Electro Whiz, poor Sparky is rendered useless. So Sparky needs a rework. Sparky shoots, it takes forever for poor Sparky to shoot in target on and even lock onto a target. Sometimes it can be so frustrating when you're sitting there waiting for your Sparky. Just Sparky, it seems like it's firing up or loading up or whatever it does forever, powering up, I guess, powering up to shoot forever, and then it's dead by the time she can get a shot off. So Sparky, in my opinion, needs a big buff. Now, what would I do to improve Sparky? I would just lessen the charge rate. That would be my suggestion. I'm sure you have a suggestion too. How can we revive Sparky, ladies and gentlemen? Let me know in the comments. I need to know how to revive Sparky. Poor Sparky. You know, she's suffering as a legendary card, if you ask me. Also, Inferno Dragon. Now, that's a bonus card for you guys. It's not one of my 5 cards, but Inferno Dragon suffers from kind of the same thing. I don't think he needs a huge buff, but I would like to see a little bit higher usage rate for the Inferno Dragon. It is a legendary card, and let's be honest, do many of you get super stoked when you open up a chest and it's an Inferno Dragon? Same thing goes with Sparky, right? So yeah, I think they do both need a buff. But anyway, number 2 on the list is, drumroll please, Bandit. Bandit is surprisingly on my list. I don't think it's one of the weakest cards in the game, so I guess I have to go redo that intro where I said it's my 5 worst cards of the game. But for a legendary card, again, I do feel like she landed a little bit soft. I would like to see an improved charge damage to the Bandit, or a faster charge, or a longer charge, or maybe not retargeting once you drop a troop in the middle of her charge. So there's many different things that can be done to the Bandit. I don't think she's useless right now, but I'd like to see her be very powerful in the game and inside a lot more decks. So that's why I choose the Bandit. Guards are my number 3 card that need a buff. Poor Guards. Do you guys even remember that Guards are a card inside the game? An epic card, 3 guards, they have the shield. I mean, it sounds great on paper, but poor troops with shields have been suffering lately. Dark Prince as well, right? And Dark Prince is another one of those cards that I'm sneaking in here that isn't technically on my list. But guards specifically are pretty much rendered next to useless right now, mainly because of 2 words, Goblin Gang, and we're going to talk about them later. But Goblin Gang, for the same amount of elixir, just holds much more value, even considering they're a common and guards are an epic. I mean, that's crazy. So guards, I would definitely buff. I would add a 4th guard to the mix. 4 guards, I think the card goes from being mediocre / to whoa, 4 guards, sign me up for 3 elixir. That's incredible value. So I want 4 guards, not 3. Moving on here. Hidden Tesla and Bomb Tower. Again, I'm sneaking in another card. I'm sorry, guys. This is awful. It's like Ash's top 5 list is really half the cards in the game. But honestly, I think that defenses are struggling right now, and mainly because of Tornado. So even Cannon and Tombstone, which used to be way more popular defenses, have suffered a bit. Even Inferno Tower usage rates are down. If you check statsroyale.com, every defensive unit is down because of one card, Tornado. It's a better option in almost every deck than these defenses. But what are the very bottom of the barrel? It's in Inferno Tower. It is Bomb Tower and Hidden Tesla. I think that defenses need a little bit more love, maybe just a slightly longer duration, more HP on the board, just a longer time on the map. I don't know what the proper buff for those cards are, to be honest with you guys. That would be up to the developers who have way more common sense and knowledge when it comes to Clash Royale than yours truly. But I do think that Hidden Tesla and Bomb Tower specifically definitely need a buff. So what am I missing? It's the Night Witch's sister or cousin. I think it's sister. Yeah, sister, because they said that in the karaoke song. The Witch. The Witch needs a buff. The Witch is worse than the Night Witch. Granted, she's an epic versus a legendary, but she's worse than the Night Witch, and she costs 1 more. That can't happen, ladies and gentlemen. Witch is still pretty viable and strong in early level to mid-level arenas, but nowhere near as powerful as her sister is. I think the Witch needs to be reworked so she's spawning more of those skeletons, or she costs 4 elixir, or she does a little bit more damage. So those are my 5 cards that I think need a buff in the game. Now let's move on to the 5 cards that I think need a nerf inside the game. And, you know, we just covered the Witch. Why not move on to talk about the Night Witch? The Night Witch needs a nerf, let's face it. Now, let me just give the devil's advocate argument for a second here. People haven't fully adjusted. She's such a new card, so they're still learning how to defend against her. But the problem here is, despite that, even let's say her usage rates go down a little bit, her usage rates right now, and not all of you might know this yet because you might not all have her unlocked, or you might not be watching every match of the most competitive play in the game, but the further you get in grand challenges, the more you see Night Witch, and then when you get to like 10, 11, 12 wins, you get shocked if you see somebody not playing Night Witch. When you can use a legendary at level 1 or 2 above 5,000 trophies and beyond in ladder, I mean, it might be a little bit OP, okay? I do daily tournaments on Plex Chat, and the Night Witch is in all the top 10 decks for the last 3 days. Let me repeat that. Top 10 decks for the last 3 days in the tournament all have Night Witch. Before that, it was like 8 or 7 or 9 of the top 10 decks. So yeah, usage rates are too high. I think it's unhealthy to have one card that powerful in the game. It kind of ruins the meta, in my opinion. Moving on, we talked about it, Goblin Gang. Goblin Gang is an amazing card, and I love Goblin Gang. I love that it's a strong, common card, and it took a lot of people by surprise. I think Bats is going to be the same way, honestly, guys. But Bats and Goblin Gang, well, we don't even know Bats, but Goblin Gang provides such huge value for only 3 elixir. It pushed cards like Spear Goblins, like regular Stab Goblins, and especially Guards out of the way. And now, you know, it's just Goblin Gang everywhere. I think Goblin Gang needs to be nerfed very slightly, maybe 1 less Goblin. I mean, that seems to be the obvious answer, because you don't want to make it 4 elixir. You don't want to, you either take away 1 Stab Goblin or 1 Spear Goblin, in my opinion, because if you nerf the Spear Goblins or the Stab Goblins, you're also touching the other Goblins, and you don't want to do that. You want to give them more love. So it seems like the only solution to me. You could also maybe make them spawn closer together, because I think there's a ton of inherent value in the fact that they spawn spaced apart like they do. It's a great defensive card, Goblin Gang, for 3 elixir. Are you kidding me? Moving on. Card number 3 is Tornado. We talked about it. Tornado is incredibly strong right now. Tornado is like, I think Tornado, Goblin Gang, and Night Witch are the 3 strongest cards, bar none, in the game right now. It's incredible. Tornado has pushed out all the defensive units that we talked about. And I love Tornado. Don't get me wrong. I love Tornado. I think it's added something interesting and unique in the game. It activates your King Tower. That is something we never saw before Tornado. Similar to, Graveyard, a Miner. They introduced a card that you can put on the other side of the arena. It's a game-changing mechanic that the Tornado allows us. It's definitely the most powerful spell in the game, in my opinion. The problem is, it's pushed all defensive units out the window. Their usage rates have all plummeted, and it's so incredibly strong in combination with splash damage units that a simple Executioner Tornado can kill like a 15 elixir push. It's crazy, So I think that maybe Tornado's radius needs to be brought down just ever so slightly, just to make it a little bit more challenging to activate the King Tower and to give a little bit more of a blind spot to that Miner or a Goblin Barrel to avoid King Tower activation. So, card number 4. Card number 4 is going to be Elite Barbarians. I know you are waiting for Elite Barbarians, and I know some of you are like, dude, Ash, I'm gonna dislike this video if the 5th card isn't Royal Giant. Wait to see, wait to see. So, card number 4 is Elite Barbarians. Elite Barbarians I don't have a problem with Elite Barbarians because I don't have to contend with overlevel commons. Overlevel commons still remains an issue on ladder. For me, it's Mortar. I see maxed out Mortar all the time. I don't really have a problem with it because I have most maxed out cards too, so I'm okay with Mortar. But Elite Barbarians is mid-level arenas. It's mid-level arenas where you're not supposed to necessarily have maxed out common cards, and it's really tedious and annoying to deal with Elite Barbarians. So what do? You're in a tough spot as a developer. Do you nerf the heck out of them and then kill them even further at tournament level standards? Or do you change them to a rare? Me, I think I would change them to a rare. I think I would change them to a rare and then give some sort of a card conversion discount or a card conversion chest or something like that to the players, or a gold or something like that to people who have them maxed out, or it'd be tough. It's a challenging subject over level commons, but I think it's safe to say from the last Radio Royale interview with Stefu that he has kind of came out and said they learned their lesson when coming out with overlevel common cards. So hopefully this will be or overlevel common card win conditions. So hopefully this will be kind of an isolated incident, the Elite Barbarians in the Royal Giant. So I do think that they either need another nerf or they need to be changed into a rare. And I'd actually go with the rare idea, personally. The last card isn't Royal Giant. Here's the thing with Royal Giant, guys. I have a free-to-play account, and I don't have an issue with Royal Giant anymore. I just don't. And I don't want to lie to be a populist and please the crowd. And I know half of you are like, dude, easy for you to say, Ash, but on my free-to-play account, which I play a lot of matches on, I just make sure I have a good counter to Royal Giant, I mean, Mini Peck is still a great counter to Royal Giant, and you can get a really great counter push after you take out the Royal Giant. Now that they changed the spawn time or whatever, and they added the 2 seconds there, Royal Giant in the pocket isn't even that dangerous anymore. If you're dropping the Royal Giant on the bridge or in the pocket, it's easily defendable in my opinion, even if it is over-leveled. And because of that, Royal Giant has been absolutely extinct from all tournaments and all challenges. And that's the danger when you nerf an over-leveled common card too hard. That's what I don't really want to have happen to Elite Barbarians. So that's why Royal Giant isn't on my list. But the last card for me is actually Graveyard. Graveyard, I love the card. I don't want to change it too much, and I don't really want to nerf it. What I want to do, and I've talked about this at nauseum with my pro guests, is I just want to add 3 or 4 patterns, spawn patterns, that the Graveyard can spawn in. And that way, a savvy defender or a pro defender will be able to identify what pattern they have to defend against, and thereby how best to defend it. So it's not really a nerf. I just want to eliminate the RNG of the card personally and make it still unpredictable, because there's still going to be various patterns it could take, but to a really good player, they'll actually memorize and know the patterns. Okay, the first skeleton was spawned in the bottom of the radius, so I know what pattern I'm gonna have to defend against. I know what area to best place my archers, and then the attacker can also predict that as well. They can say, okay, that's the spawn rate I'm going for. The best poison positioning would be here. So it's not really a nerf. I kind of cheated here, but it's just kind of a rework of the card. So guys, that's it. That's my list of 5 cards that desperately need a buff, and 5 cards that should be nerfed. And I snuck in about 20 extra cards there. So guys, what did I leave out? I want to hear from you guys in the comments. As you know, I always respond to comments left in the first hour after my videos. I really look forward to hearing from you guys. Hope you like the haircut, by the way. Finally get this haircut. Now I just need to shave and I'll be good to go. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to my YouTube partner, Bren Chong. You can find his information in the description below. Guys, thanks again, and as always, take care, guys.